It is daytime in Japan, and we are getting a better look at nature's fury unleashed. We are seeing new dramatic video of the deadly tsunami spawned by one of the most powerful earthquakes in more than 100 years. Good evening, I'm Jamison Euler. Wendy Ryan has the night off. Search and rescue teams are busy across northeast Japan at this hour in a desperate attempt to find survivors. But as Saturday morning broke in Japan, this was the terrifying reality many woke up to. Towns just wiped off the map by waves that moved as fast as a jet plane across the Pacific. Heading for higher ground for many meant heading for the rooftops. That is where hundreds of people are stranded tonight waiting for help. Rescue choppers are trying to get to as many as they can. One of the biggest concerns tonight are two malfunctioning nuclear power plants. There are growing fears that radiation could leak out of those facilities. The death toll is feared to be near 1,000, with hundreds still missing. Government leaders describe the damage as enormous, and the shaking is not done yet. Fresh pictures from the tsunami zone as the sun rises in Japan reveal massive plumes of smoke from fires that are burning out of control. Entire neighborhoods washed away, and survivors have gathered on the roofs. In one parking lot, a giant SOS. And this is the moment where the whole disaster starts, 2:46 p.m. local time. Debris rains down as people rush out into the streets, stunned. Back inside this bookstore, you can see the fear and incomprehension on the faces of the workers. At the same moment, frantic scenes play out all across the country. As the very thing we most rely on, the ground beneath our feet, gave way.
This is the real thing.
School children running for their lives. News anchors wearing helmets on air and televisions in this office rattling uncontrollably. And then, round two, as the tsunami sirens wail. A foamy, furious wave comes roaring at 500 miles an hour, with others lined up right behind it. The walls of water crash ashore with astonishing power, marauding across flat Japanese countryside, swallowing everything in its way. It builds into a toxic, treacherous soup of cars, boats, and houses, some of them on fire. Watch as the irresistible liquid invasion creates waterfalls of cars, rips this home right off its foundation. As of right now, the official toll of death and missing stands at 1,000, and it will likely go up. However, one ferry carrying 100 people is still missing, as is an entire passenger train carrying an unknown number of people. Absolutely amazing. As we mentioned, the next risk is two nuclear power plants in Japan. Japanese officials have declared the country's first ever state of nuclear emergency. Reports say the cooling system has failed at 5 reactors. The situation described as touch and go. Authorities have now evacuated a 6-mile radius around one of those plants. Closer here to home, there are parents here in the Bay Area still waiting to hear from their children studying abroad in Japan. Our Rebecca Medina spoke with a local doctor who is still waiting to communicate with her son. She joins us now with that story. Rebecca?
Jamison, it's still difficult to communicate with anyone in Japan. Sylvia Campbell still hasn't spoken to her son, but she did get some good news today.
Can't get in touch with him, so it's just been a really long day.
She hasn't eaten. She hasn't slept. All Sylvia Campbell has done is think about her son Ross, a student at the University of Florida who's been studying abroad in Osaka, Japan since last August.
There was no way to get in touch with him, and all we could see were the pictures of what was going on in Japan, and I didn't know where he was.
And even before she'd heard the news or saw the horrifying pictures of the devastation or that ocean-sized whirlpool, her mother's instinct had taken over.
I happened to wake up at exactly the time that the earthquake hit, And then when I turned on my computer and I saw what was going on, I just couldn't stop crying.
After hours of phone calls, Sylvia finally got her answer.
I was able to get in touch with the International Studies program at Gainesville this afternoon, and they told me that they had heard from Kansai University in Osaka that the 7 U.S. students that are in Osaka were okay.
She hasn't been able to talk with Ross yet, but she knows he's alive, and she knows she'll see her son again. That, she says, is an answer to a mother's prayers.
I just was praying and asking all my friends to pray that God's angels would wrap their wings around him and keep him safe.
And Sylvia emailed me just a little while ago, and she said, God's angels are with my son. This I am sure of.